We want to make the Mikdash. We're fasting to commemorate what our tefillah is accomplishing. Look what happened. It was a war. We fought our enemies. We destroyed all of them. There was not one single fatality. Not one single Jew passed away. Not one single Jew died in the war. So what's the connection? How's that? Esther fasted 3 days. Those 3 days were the month of Nisan, the year before. We fast on the day before the Jews won the war and destroyed their enemies. So the Rebbe came up, I mentioned last week. Remember what we said? Who was not here? What was, you know the answer to this question? Why is it called Taanis Esther?
Because she was the only one that fasted.
Oh. Where'd you hear that one from?
From the Rebbe.
The Lubavitcher Rebbe?
The Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Where? Which class?
A few classes.
What does that mean? Why was she the only one who fasted?
Because everyone went to war.
Everyone went to war. She was the only person who did not have to go to war. The din is when people fight, those that fight don't fast because they can't. But all those that are exempt from war do fast in behalf of the soldiers. But over here, there weren't any soldiers. Everyone was a soldier. It was like Hamas coming into October 7th, coming into your house. You had to fight to defend yourself. You couldn't fast. You never knew what's going to happen. So therefore, it's called Taanis Esther. This is the Rebbe's brilliant response to a question that was asked. Okay. Today, I want to discuss chapter 3 of the Megillah. Begins with Achar Hadvorim Ha'ela. Gidal HaMelech HaChashverosh es Haman ben Hamdasa. After the events of the previous chapter, chapter 2, Achashverosh promoted Haman to become the prime minister. He was already filthy rich, but now he made him the macher of the whole land. Achar means after what happened in chapter 2, Haman became promoted. What happened in chapter 2? Something positive. Big Samaseresh were plotting to kill Achashverosh. We all know. You know why? Why did they want to kill Achashverosh? What did Achashverosh do to them that he wanted to kill him? For a crazy reason. That's part of the miracle. Because it says Achashverosh was with Esther very often at night, and he drank a lot and got shikar, and got very thirsty. As a result of getting very thirsty, he needed his workers to work for him at night. And he gave them the job of being up at night. Because they were so exhausted from Achashverosh's keeping them up the whole night, they decided to kill him. Which is not a normal reason to kill a king, just for that reason. So what happened? Mordechai overheard. How did Mordechai overhear? They weren't talking Hebrew. They were talking Tarsius or some kind of weird language. And they knew Mordechai was there, but they spoke in front of him. Because a Jew, an old Jew, and all Altair, a Jew with a long white beard is going to understand what we're talking about. Probably just knows Yiddish, maybe Hebrew, that's about it. But Mordechai is part of the Sanhedrin, and he knew all 70 languages. And he overheard, and that sowed planted the seeds for the Yeshua, because when Achashverosh had that dream, when he couldn't sleep, he had insomnia that night. What happened? Why did he have insomnia, by the way? What was the reason? Balaylahu, that night, the king couldn't sleep. Why couldn't he sleep? What happened? What was bothering him?
And the Achashverosh.
Well, no, on a simple level. Achashverosh is Achashverosh. What was bothering him? Why couldn't he sleep? I don't know. He couldn't sleep. There's a reason he couldn't sleep. Because Haman was invited by Esther. And I'm going to learn in Gemara in a few minutes. 9 reasons, 9 different rabbis offered 9 different reasons. Why did Esther invite Haman to the party where she was supposed to divulge her identity for the first time and to petition Achashverosh? She came to him. What can I do for you, Esther? I'll give you half the kingdom. Tell me what can I do. Make a party for me tomorrow. If I can find grace in the king's eyes, please make for me a party and invite just you, me, and Haman. Why did she invite Haman? Is there a love affair going on? Is she trying to, what's going on over here? Something's not, it's a private thing between the king and the queen, and all of a sudden, Haman is invited? Maybe she's fallen for him. He got worried. He couldn't sleep at night. Every man would have that problem if a wife was, And he loved Esther. He thought he was the best husband. He was the best wife. A very good marriage. Something's wrong over here. Of course, we're going to learn the 9 reasons why she didn't invite Haman. One of those reasons is this. Yeah, Achashverosh is crazy. And it worked. He couldn't sleep. He had insomnia. Now, he was dead drunk from the party. Usually when you're drunk, you can sleep very well. You sleep too well. You have a hangover. And he couldn't sleep. And he figured, something's wrong over here. I'm afraid of Haman. He might want to, try to assassinate me and have Esther for himself. That being the case, is there no one? I have no friends. Don't forget, Achashverosh had paranoia. He wanted, that's why he made a party for 187 days. Who makes a party? He wanted everyone to love him. He took tax-free. The guy he was always afraid that people are not gonna, are gonna hate him. And the Pella was that he allowed Haman to try to assassinate, or try to execute all the Jews. How would he allow a thing like that? Because there were so many anti-Semites that he figured he'd become popular by promoting the annihilation of the Jewish people. But anyways, he couldn't sleep. And he figures, wait a second, is there no one who would come to my rescue? Is there nobody who would advise me to be careful? Maybe I did it. Maybe someone did me a favor and I never repaid him. Let me look in my book of Chronicles. And Shimshi, who was Haman's son, one of the sons, not one of the 10 that were hanged. Shimshi, his name was. Sounds like a Jewish name, Shimshi. I know some of them named Shimshi. And he started reading, and Shimshi started erasing the story with Bigson Vaseresh, and it got rewritten again. And started erasing it, rewritten again. And then he saw he can't erase it, so what did he do? Bigson Vaseresh. How do you spell Vaseresh? Vav, Tav, Resh, Shin. How do you spell Bigson? Beis, Gimel, Tav, Nun. But you look into the Megillah, it's written Big Sunna. There's an extra aleph after the word Big Sun. Why? Guess why? Because what did Shimshi try to do? Try to implicate Mordecai. That he got both of them killed, even though it wasn't sure. Big Sunna, the aleph of Big Sun, and the vav of Viseresh, he put them together. Bigtan, Teresh. One of the two was plotting against the king. We don't know which one. And he got them both killed. So that's to minimize Mordecai, that he killed 2 people, and only one of them was guilty. He didn't know which one, so we got them both executed. But anyways, this is the story. Then we have the story with Esther making 2 parties. Why did she make a second party? At the first party, finally, you think she's going to reveal and going to tell what's bothering her. No, she doesn't do that. Based on the reason why she invited Haman, we'll understand, one of the reasons at least, we'll understand why she didn't want to reveal what coming from her heart's plea to Achashverosh, and to also divulge her identity until the next day party. She senses it's not the right time yet. She was very smart and extremely, she was not just a prophetess and a tzaddikus, she was also brilliant. And she realized, you got to wait. It's interesting. Mordecai didn't tell her to make a party. What did he tell her? Plead for your people right there and then. She didn't listen. Well, she didn't know. She did obey him eventually, but she decided to make a party and then a second party. Why did she make a second party? Why she made the first party, we can understand, because that's when, king is in a good mood, he's merry, and you can get much more from him than when he's in a serious mode. That we can understand. But why the second party? Because something happened. Something occurred. And guess what happened in between the 2 parties? Achashverosh couldn't sleep. And he finds out that Mordecai saved his life and never got rewarded. He calls in Haman and he asks Haman, what should be done to a person who has saved who the king loves, who has found grace in the king's eyes? And Haman thought it meant himself, of course, who else? And he started saying, we should wear the royal crowns in the street, and then people should say, this is what happens to a person who the king loves. Thank you very much, Haman. I'll do the same thing to Mordecai. Do what you just said to Mordecai. And of course, the Gemara says Haman tried to get out of it. Which Mordecai? I know a lot of Mordecais. No, but the Mordecai, Hayosha B'Shah HaMelech. And then he couldn't get out of it. Finally, he said, I'd rather die. Please kill me instead of me doing this. So what does Achashverosh say? Okay, we'll do that too. Or whatever you say. You want to be killed? We'll kill you too. But first, I want you. That's what he said to him. And Haman went crazy. Haman went to see, visiting the children. Mordecai told the children, he's coming, run away. No, not running away. Wherever you go, we go. we're with you. And Haman's waiting till Mordecai finishes the lecture. He stands there like, he's completely, you say Yiddish, badust. Badust means he's destroyed. Anyways, this happened in between. So now, and guess what happened? Haman was, the whole long story, was passing by on the royal carriage, and his daughter thought that, and now he stinks, and everyone's pushing him away, and he's running like an oval, and he smells like terrible, and he feels horrible. He just lost his daughter, by the way. His daughter just jumped out the window. He lost his daughter. Everything all happening at once. You can imagine how he felt. Now we have the second party. But how did Esther know? Did Esther know that all this is going to happen? You could say she knew. She was a prophetess. And maybe she knew that something's going to happen in between. But you can also say something else. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to first go back to the Gemara. Why is it that right after the events of the second chapter, which talk about something good, that Bixam and Seresh were caught by Mordecai, and Mordecai saved the king's life? That's a good thing. It paid in good stead at the end of the story. I mean, thanks to that, Haman was, Haman suffered, and that began the whole domino effect of the miracle of Purim. And then right after the chapter 2, with Bixam and Seresh's plot being revealed by Mordecai, after that, now Haman became promoted. You know what the answer is? Hashem does not punish the Jewish people by promoting an anti-Semite before creating the refuah. He first created the refuah. What's the refuah? The cure for the disease, the Haman disease. Mordecai becomes the hero. So Hashem made Mordecai the hero, and then he was able to promote Haman. Hashem does not punish the Jewish people for the sake of punishing. Just like a parent doesn't punish a child because they want to hit the child. They want the child to behave. So what's in the forefront of the parent's mind? The benefit of the child. When Hashem punishes, he first brings the refuah. Hikdim refuah lamaka. By the non-Jews, they're like workers. You don't do your work, I'm going to fire you. Okay, I'll be better. Okay, we'll see. He first punishes them, and then if they do tshuva, he takes away the punishment. By the Jewish people, first comes the refuah, and now, once the refuah is already planted, now we can punish them. Let's see it inside. Oh, you don't have it. Okay, so it takes. My brother had in his book also for kids. I'll show it to you in a second. I'll take this.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Take this also. This. And this. Yeah, there's one more. There's one more, but this is not the whole thing, but it's part of it. We'll get there. One of his questions, I'll just quickly ask you. Haman was hanged on the 13th of Adar, the 14th of Adar, the 15th of Adar, the 16th of Nisan. When was Haman hanged? What day? This is for kids. Anyone know? What day was what day was the execution of Haman? Remember, it happened after the fast days. When did I say? Right, because Esther fasted 3 days, and she fasted in Nisan. And right after the 3-day fast, she went into Achashverosh, and then he couldn't sleep at night. The next day, Haman was executed. The 16th of Nisan, second day of Pesach. He has really funny ones here. He has Jewish children wear masks on Purim because A, they are envious of those who masquerade on Halloween. B, the Lone Ranger was born on Purim. Maybe it was Tanto. C, the miracle of Purim and God's presence was masked with the cloak of nature. I guess it's C, I think. Esther knew when it was Shabbos in the palace by A, consulting her Jewish Discovery Center in Buffalo. B, having 7 servants, one for each day of the week. C, Mordecai sending her hand signals before the onset of Shabbos. D, divine inspiration. B is correct. Very good.
This is fun.
The fast of Esther commemorates. Okay, this is we'll skip that. We did that already. The fast of Esther is observed on the 11th day of Adar, the 12th, 13th, or 16th. Which day of Adar is it? The fast of Esther, 13th, of course. When Purim occurs on a Sunday, the fast of Esther is canceled, observed on the next day, observed the Friday before, observed the Thursday before.
Where?
Purim's on a Sunday, you can't fast the day before Shabbos. Do we fast on Friday or Thursday or Sunday or Monday? The answer is Thursday.
Oh.
We don't want to institute a fast on Friday. If it's anyways pushed off, we'd like to push it back to Thursday. Once on Purim, we are required to hear the reading of the Megillah once, twice, 3 times, as often as possible. Twice. The following section of the Megillah must be said in one breath. The description of Mordechai's triumph over Haman, the description of Esther's plea to the king, the description of the victory of the Jews, the names of the 10 sons of Haman. Correct. Haman was hanged on a tree that was 10 cubits high, 40, 50, or 100. 10, 40, 50, or 100. 50. Yeah, and 50 represents a Shar Hanun. I always make it as a interesting. There's a Haman inside of us, Amalek, who likes to cool us off. How do you cool a person off? We have a Rebbe, don't we? The Rebbe is in the high heavens there. There's a 50th gate. It's called 50 gates of Bina. He's in the 50th gate. He's hanging very high. You can't relate to him. He's not with you anymore. He doesn't have anything to do with this world anymore. He's gone. After Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe is no longer here anymore. There is no Rebbe. So he wanted Mordecai, the Rebbe of that generation, even though he was alive, hang him on the gallows of 50 feet. The Haman inside of us, we're religious Jews, tells us that of course there's a Mordecai. He's a very holy person, but he's too holy to have anything to do with us. Don't let Mordecai affect your life. That's what the Haman, the Haman inside of us, quiet Haman says. And it's interesting, if you look at the musical sounds, the trup is the musical sounds when the Balkara reads, doesn't just read the words, Yasu 8, let make a tree, Gavoa, Kamishamama. Yasu 8, Gavoa, Kamishamama. And the trup has a name to it. Zarka Munach Segol. Zarka means in Aramaic, cast him, throw him. Munach, for him to rest. Segol means in the most fortunate world in Elam Haba. Let your Rebbe rest in peace. Leave him alone. Stop mentioning him. He's not with you anymore. He's enjoying his bliss in the high heavens. Don't bother him. So the trup, the sounds over these words also have a meaning. The one going, yeah, so it's called Zarka. Zarka means Zorak, means to throw. In Aramaic, it's Zarka. Anyways, so what I just mentioned over here about the fact that Hashem prefaces the cure before the Makkah. Let's take a look at that Gemara. So the first page, the first page. First page. Hold on a second. On top, what page is it on top? Is it anything on top or is it missing?
Page doesn't say. It says the notes is number 1.
No, but does it say 13 something? Or...
No.
Turn to the page after that. We already told you what. Let's get to the 9 reasons. The 9 reasons why Esther invited Haman. That should be. One second. Can't find it here. Okay. What about 9 reasons? Get there in a second. By the way, Anyone know what the word Vashti means? There's probably a letter without the Vav. How do you spell Vashti? Vav, Shin, Taf, Yud. Shin, Taf, Yud spells in Hebrew, stay, two. She's duplicit. She's double. On the outside, plays a game. Vashti stands for Klipa. Klipa can only exist by hiding their true identity, by covering, it's a cover-up. You know, someone who's lying covers. I mean, you try to, look into this person, that person dies, that person ceases to exist. Just like Hamas, all these Rishonim over there, all these anti-Semites. You start probing a little deeper, you find out the truth, and they disappear. So Vashti's whole existence was her cover-up. One big lie, one big faker. She stands for Klipa. It's interesting that what did Achashverosh do? What did he want from her? Achashverosh stands for God. God sometimes tells Klipa, undress yourself. Let us see your true colors. And Vashti can't do that, because if Vashti does that, she ceases to exist. And it's interesting, in the Megillah, we don't find, doesn't say anywhere that Vashti was killed. She's not mentioned anymore. Doesn't mention a word about that she was hanged like Haman. We know it was hanged, but we don't find anything about her, how she died. Doesn't even say the word she died. She's no longer mentioned. She's out. Because how do you get to Klipa? How do you destroy Klipa? By revealing that the cover-up is only a cover-up. It's all fake. Once you divulge the lie, then she has nothing to stand on. Okay, I want to just find the Gemara here. Another question I want to ask you while I'm trying to find the Gemara is, why don't we say Hallel on Purim? We say it on Hanukkah we say Hallel. Why don't we say Hallel on Purim? Where is this? Doesn't say it, doesn't mention the page?
No.
Okay. Here, okay. You have the page where it says, it's 15b3. The top of the page starts with the word, it will be half the kingdom. You have that page? I think it's the second page you have, or maybe the third. It'd be half the kingdom.
It says it on the top left.
I don't have the actual Gemara, so I don't have any more copies.
Ah.
It'd be half the kingdom. You have that page?
Yes, we have the kingdom.
No? Can't find it? Should be close.
Here.
Get to the page where 15b3 is, and it says, it'd be half the kingdom.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. So the Gemara wants to know, what's the reason why, in the second paragraph, the following verse states, Yahweh Hamelech Haman el Amishta. Esther answered Achashverosh, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet. Why Haman? Tanu Rabbanon, the rabbis taught in a brisa. Brisa is like an addendum to a Mishnah from the Mishnah sages. Ma ro asa Esther shezimna es Haman. What was Esther's reason for inviting Haman to the banquet? The brisa records several reasons. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, here comes reason number 1 out of 9. Pachim tamnaloi. She set up a trap for him, and she quoted a pasuk, and she knew the pasuk in Tehillim from David HaMelech, chapter 69, Kapitel Samaches, Yehi shulchanam lefneim lefach, which means, may their table become a trap for them. Look at the bottom of the page. When a person feels comfortable and believes that all is well, you become very vulnerable and susceptible to a downfall. When you think everything's going so well for me, I feel so comfortable, everything's so good. We don't mean you're thankful to Hashem for that. You're bragging about yourself. Look how good I have in life. That's the moment where your downfall is close to come, is soon to come. And this could be why Esther waited. She waited. By the next time I make a party, he'll have his downfall already. Because right after a Haman deserves, can you imagine how he felt? The queen is inviting no one else, just him? Wow. So that set the table for his downfall, and that is it could be the answer as to why she made a second party. She wanted to wait because right now he's enjoying life. The next time I invite him, he'll have his downfall, and she was right. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, he gives a different reason. He says she learned to do from her father's house. He didn't have a father. It couldn't mean a father. Rashi says from her, she saw the little kids coming out of school, and she learned from them. And they quoted a pasuk in Proverbs, Mishli. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat. And the footnote on the bottom said the following verse continues, for you are heaping coals on his head, and Hashem will reward you. When Hashem sees that you're giving to a Russia something that's good, you're taking away Hashem's obligation to feed him something good. And Hashem is very happy when you are helping out a Russia, because he takes away his obligation to do so, and thus Hashem will reward. So he knew that if I were to help this person, help this Russia by giving him the honor of being invited, Hashem will give me success in my mission here. Okay, that's the second reason. Reb Meir says, Kadesh Layito Eitz of a Yimroid. She invited Haman so that he would not take counsel and rebel against the king. You never know. When he's not around, he could find, he has his people, his cohorts, and he's dangerous. You never know what he's up to. So therefore, have him present at the party so he can't do anything. Rabbi Yehuda says, and it's interesting, Yehuda, look at the name, Yehuda, Kadesh Le'akiru ba shehu Yehudis, that no one should even believe that she's Jewish. To convince people, they knew that Mordecai is close to her, and Mordecai is Jewish, maybe she's Jewish. But if she's inviting Haman and not Mordecai, nah, she's not Jewish. I think she must be a hidden anti-Semite, in fact. She's inviting Haman. So that's another reason. It's interesting. His name is Rabbi Yehuda, who says that people should not recognize that she is a Yehudit. Now, Nehemiah, what does Rabbi Nehemiah say? Also connected to consolation. Nehemiah means like Nechama. Kadesh lo Yom Yisrael, Jews and say, we have nothing to worry about. We have a sister. We have Esther. Esther will help. Esther will save us. We don't need to daven so hard. Esther will come to the rescue. She's the queen. After all, she certainly will help us. Achos Yeshlana. We have a sister in the royal palace who will entreat the king on behalf. She didn't want the Jews to give up praying and relying on her. So she made a startling statement of inviting Haman and scaring the Jewish people. Maybe she's also getting affected. Who knows? Maybe the sister is not such a big tzaddik, anyways. So therefore, let them not have consolation. Let them not give themselves comfort that things are going well for them, because we have Esther in the government as the queen. So Rab Nehemiah says, I don't want the Jews to find comfort in their lives. I want them to pray hard. That's Rab Nehemiah. They will neglect praying for divine mercy. Rabbi Yossi says, so how many reasons do we have so far? We have Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nehemiah, and now we have a sixth reason. Rabbi Yossi says, he invited Haman, but Haman is there. One little blunder he makes in front of the king, he's out. So she wants him to be there in case he makes one blunder and says something out of he shouldn't be saying, which perhaps is going to happen. When he's there, the king will see and hear what he has to say and punish him right on the spot. Rab Shimon ben Asya Aimer, Ulai is a very interesting reason. Ulai Yargish Hamokim. Esther reckoned perhaps the Abishter will be aroused, and seeing his wonderful tzaddikus, Esther Nebuch, having to invite Haman, it'll trigger Hashem's mercy. Look what she has to do for this big Russia. I can't tolerate this anymore. When a father sees how a child has to go through suffering. And Esther suffered when she invited Haman. It wasn't something she enjoyed doing. She invited Haman. The fact that Haman could even think for a second that Esther cares, that has some kind of interest in him, bothered her. You could imagine how a tzaddikus would feel. Even an average normal person would feel horrible. So Hashem, it would evoke Hashem's rachamim. This is another interesting reason. Ulai yagish hamakom v'yasel onones. Rabbi Shua ben Korcho Omer. This is a powerful reason. Ponim, I will smile at Haman so that the king will suspect us of being intimately involved and have us both executed. I don't mind if I die. I don't care about myself. I care about getting rid of Haman. Once Haman is rid of, that will be the beginning of the revocation of the Gzeira. It will eliminate the decree as well. Rabbi Gamliel says, Hafachvachan haya. Esther knew that this Achashverosh was a fickle-minded, wishy-washy guy. Like the weather, he changes like the weather. 1 minute Azor, next minute Azor. If I'm going to even get him to agree to eliminate the decree, the evil decree, that's today. And tomorrow morning he'll wake up and he'll change his mind. So I want to have Haman right there and then. So he can't, because Haman might go ahead and and convince him to change his mind. I don't want Haman to be able to do that. I'm going to be there with Haman. That's why she invited him. That's the reason Rabbi Gamliel says. He was a hafkach. I mean, he was a hapach. Hayom kacha v'machar kacha. Today Azar and tomorrow, like the weather, he changes. Rabbi Gamliel says we still need the answer of Rabbi Eliezer, the ninth answer. Tzrichin anu l'modoi. Even after taking all these reasons into account, we still need a reason given by Rabbi Eliezer. The Tanya we learned in the Brayso, Rabbi Eliezer Hamadoyam, Rabbi Eliezer who was the Modian, came from that part of the country of Israel. By inviting Haman, she made the king jealous of him, and she made the other nobles also jealous. In other words, we understand why she invited Haman, but why only Haman? Why not Haman and his whole entourage? That would really make, Haman is a very big person here. You don't invite him just personally. You have all his Hasidim with him. How come she only invited him? Because she wanted all of them to hate him. They all be jealous. How come you got there? How come why only you and none of us? So she wanted to promote jealousy amongst his colleagues. By inviting him, she got the king jealous of him, and she made all the other nobles jealous of him. By the way, I got to tell you something interesting. Last week you mentioned that Haman had 208 children. What? Not from one wife. He was Mizana. He fooled around and had with all the wives of all the people, all his, his connections, all the people that were under him. He fooled around with them. And you can imagine when his wife found out about that, he wasn't very happy with him either. She told him, you're going to fall. The second time around, she said, just like you started falling, you're going to fall and you're going to lose your life. His wife said that. Zerah said that. Haman actually revealed to his wife that he has that many children, Rei Bonov, and he got everyone to hate him. That's a miracle. Why would he say anything like that? Why would you reveal to your own wife how many affairs you've had with different women? What did he think? His wife's gonna be happy with that? And that's why the question is asked. They all became impoverished, by the way. How did they come? How can you're a son of Haman, how are you impoverished? Because no one really knew who they were. No one knew their identity. He had 208 children, but no one really, it was not known clearly that Haman is their father. Many of them thought that their wives are pregnant with them. So these were 208 mamzerim over there. They were big beat. They were mamzerim. He had actually his own 10 children. He had actually 10 children that were hanged. They had 10 more children that died, and he had 10 children or many other children that were impoverished. Okay. Now take a look at the next page. What the next page say?
What's the next page?
What does it say there? Okay. Take a look at the last 2 pages. There's not really a chance to finish everything.
15b4.
Yeah. How does it start? 15b4. Let's start with. No, not 15b4. Page after that. You have 16a1. It's in one of the last pages.
But does it start with?
It starts with Shimshri and the king's scribe.
King cry?
No, the king's scribe was erasing from the record book. The top of the page, 16a1. You should have it. It says on top. I think it should say on top 16.
Let's see.
You don't see it?
Mhm.
No? You don't have this page? I have it here. It should be at the end. Okay, it's getting running out of time. The whole story was, when Haman had to carry Mordecai and drive him on his donkey, on his royal donkey or royal horse, whatever it was. But here,
Thank you.
the first page is 1681. You don't have it. It should be. It's not. It's what it was stapled together. No. No. Here's another one.
Yes.
Here's another one. So you have on the right side of the page, Haman was forced to carry out the king's order. On the right side of the page, in the middle, you have Vayikach Haman as-Salavush v'Sasos. He went and found that rabbis were sitting before Mordecai. There were rabbis who were sitting next to him, students of Mordecai. And he was demonstrating the laws of Kemitza. Kemitza is a very complicated process in the Beis Hamikdash when they had to take the flour of the meal offering and scoop it up in a special way. And Mordecai was teaching those laws that pertain to the Beis Hamikdash, and there wasn't a Beis Hamikdash then. Kivan the Chazia Mordecai, when Mordecai saw the Apik Lekavle, that Haman was coming towards him to kill him, probably, with the king's horse held in his hand, he became afraid. He has the king's horse. That means the king is giving him permission to act. Amalul Rabbanon, he told the rabbis, Hi Rishia Lemikdal Nafshika Osi, this wicked man is coming to kill me. Run for your lives. Zilu Mekamei Deletichavu Bikachalate. Move away from him so that you two are not burned by his coal, by meaning I'm gonna be the one to lose my life, but you escape. At that moment, Mordecai wrapped himself in his cloak and stood up to daven. And Haman Nebuch had to wait till he finished davening. The Gemara relates an encounter with Haman. Haman came and sat before them. And waited ad desolik Mordecai litzloisa until Mordecai finished his prayers. Amalahu b'mayas kisu. He asked the disciples, with what topic of study are you occupied? He asked Mordecai. So he explained to him that when we had the Beis Hamikdash was in existence, Man de Menade Mincha, whoever pledged a mincha offering, a flour offering, a meal offering, Malay Kumse, the Sulta Umaskapale. It would be as the next page. We have the next page. You have the next page, 1682. Starting with the word brought a fistful of fine flour and would gain atonement through that little fistful of fine flour offered on the Mizbeach. So Haman says to Mordecai, your fistful of flour has come, and pushed aside my 10,000 silver talents, which is a heavy amount of money that I offered to have the Jews killed, which I was willing to pay Achashverosh to destroy the Jewish people. Your little flour offering, fistful of it, overpowered all my offers. Amalei, so Mordecai tells him, this is good how things were in the good old days. When a Jew sees a goy, he's like, no, don't have Rahmanas on him. So Mordecai berated him, and he says, Rasha, you evil lowlife. What do you mean you gave him? Where'd you get all the money from? All your money is mine, because you were my slave. Don't you remember the story? You became my servant. If a slave acquires property, and you believe you're the richest man in the world, to whom does the slave belong to? And to whom does the property belong to? It certainly belongs to his master. Since you are my slave, that money was mine, not yours. You didn't give anything away. You gave my money away. You're offering that. When you're offering the 10,000 talents, a talent is thousands of dollars, 10,000 times the thousands of dollars. Talking about in the billions. He was offering Achashverosh billions of dollars in order to execute the Jewish people. So Mordecai tells him, Rasha, that's not yours. Whatever you own, I own. I'm your master. And Haman has to hear that. He can't do anything. He has to hear those words. So the Gemara continues. Haman said to Mordecai, arise, put on these garments, and ride this horse. The Bailach Malka, the king wishes you to do so. Amalei, so Mordecai tells him, I don't have any credit. I just fasted. First of all, I have to take a haircut. I have to take a bath towel. I got to take a shower. I've been in mourning for 3 days, and I need my hair to be cut. I can't just come to the king this way. It is not proper to use the garments of the king in this state. You know what Esther did? She closed all the bathhouses and all the barber shops. Said Haman will have to be the guy to bathe Mordechai personally and give him a haircut. You should have the shame of having to be his barber and his bathhouse attendant. Esther heard about this news, and Shadra Esther sent them an order and detained all the bathhouses attendants and all the barbers so that Haman would have to attend to Mordechai personally as a result. Haman personally brought Mordechai into the bathhouse and bathed him. And Haman went and brought his scissors from his house to give him a haircut. The Kashakal and was cutting Mordechai's hair. While cutting it, Haman felt faint and groaned. So Mordechai tells Haman, "Why are you groaning? What are you complaining about?" Haman answered him, "The man who was so valued by the king and all his nobles now becomes a barber, a bathhouse attendant?" So Mordechai says, "You lowlife, you villain, you Russia. Weren't you once upon a barber in this village of Kartsum? What are you complaining about? That's your job. That's who you always were. That was your profession." For 22 years, he was a barber. So Mordechai is telling him, you shouldn't be, what are you groaning about, moaning about? After Haman cut Mordechai's hair, he dressed him in his assigned royal garments. Armalei, sak, come onto the horse and ride. Armalei, I don't have the strength. I've been fasting. My strength is weakened from the days of fasting. So Haman bent down, and Mordechai stepped up on Haman's back and ascended the horse. Kisolik, and then when Mordechai, when Mordechai was ascending on Haman's back, he gave him a kick, like a zunta kick, kicked him. So Haman answered back, "What? Doesn't it say in your books, in your Tanakh, when your enemy falls, do not rejoice? Why are you allowed to kick me and make fun of me? Armalei, only a Jewish enemy. You have to be sad and then not rejoice when your enemy falls. But you're not a Jew. But amongst the enemies of Jews, especially the Amalekim, it says, and you shall tread upon their high places. So therefore, I'm standing on top of you and giving you a kick to remind you where you belong." Then it says further, Haman led Mordechai through the city square, and the rest you probably know. The story with his daughter. Here, Gemara tells the whole story with his daughter, who thought that her father was Mordechai, and Mordechai was Haman. And of course, we know the whole story. That's what Gemara continues on the next page. Yeah. So I want to just end off with something interesting. There's a question that's asked when you have two others, and we have the choice to read the Megillah, the first Adar or the second Adar. So what do? The second Adar, not the first. But the Gemara says you should read the first Adar. The Gemara says it makes more sense not to bypass a mitzvah. What happens? I don't know. You don't put on talis and tefillin. I know that, but what do you put on first? The talis or the tefillin? What does a man put on first? First the talis or the tefillin? Talis.
That's why it's
First the talis, then the tefillin. But what happens if by mistake you took your tefillin out first? Put on the tefillin first. You're not allowed to bypass a mitzvah. Also by Hanukkah, light the menorah. Stand by the candle, the newest candle first. Don't light the candle that's far away from you. It's not really, the candle that's right near you will be embarrassed, will be uncomfortable, but you bypassed it. You don't want to bypass a mitzvah. It's interesting. So why is it that we bypass the mitzvah reading the Megillah and read it the second month? And the answer is because we'd like to join the miracle of Purim with the miracle of Pesach. We want to have the two redemptions one after another, no month in between. And that overrides the importance of not bypassing a mitzvah. Why? My brother, in his book, in his blue book over here, which is all about Purim, called The Light of the Future, everything everybody want to know about Purim, including some jokes, the end, Purim jokes. He also answers this question in a very interesting way, very powerful explanation. What he says is that if you think after celebrating Purim that you're happy about the events of Purim, and how can you be happy when we're still under Achashverosh and we don't have a Beis Hamikdash? Yeah, I know, I'm realizing the time. So he says Purim is only a stepping stone, a segue to Pesach. If you believe that Purim is a complete redemption, you're okay with having Achashverosh as your leader, you got a problem. Then you haven't celebrated Purim properly. To celebrate Purim, make it sure it's as close to Pesach as possible. But you can't wait. One day after Purim, it's too late. We're in the Pesach mode already. One day after Purim, we graduated from Purim. Now we have to prepare for Pesach. You can't read the Megillah one day afterwards.
Thank you.
Stop here.
Thank you.
Too much to talk about in 45 minutes.
It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Done.